everyone, Catherine Anaya here, and welcome to Conversations with Catherine. My guest today is Mona Shane. She is a licensed professional counselor. And Mona, it is nice to talk to you. It's been a while since we've seen each other, but you're looking great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, in COVID-19, I'm inside doing everything virtually. So it's nice to see you again, Catherine, as
Yes,
well.
join the club. We are here via Zoom, and I'm so glad to talk to you because you have a grief and loss support group for people who've lost loved ones during the COVID-19 health crisis. Very, very important. Talk to me a little bit about how grief is felt differently for people during this time, because we know grief is felt differently individually anyway, but how does being in a pandemic make it that much tougher to process or deal with?
Well, the hard thing is that we're all isolated. So social isolation is what we're dealing with right now. We're all in our homes individually without contact with others. There's no physical contact. So when we lose a loved one, we're used to people coming over and hugging and kissing us and giving us support, bringing us food, bringing us comfort. And all of a sudden we're isolated and we're in our own homes. You're feeling the pain. There's no one to hug you or give you hugs and kisses and tell you that things are going to be okay. So we're in a pandemic, so everything's isolated anyway. People have lost their jobs. They're not going to work if they do have a job, and they're far from family and friends. And it's very, very hard. And so now you're grieving, you're all alone, and you're sad. You're going through all the phases of grief and loss: anger, sadness, frustration, not being able to be with your loved one. People are dying alone in hospitals and rehab centers with no one around them, which has never happened before. And we're just feeling so isolated. And those of us who are caretakers and want to be with them, we can't get on planes. Now we can, but I lost my mom during the pandemic. I couldn't get on. She lives on the East Coast. I couldn't get on a plane to go see her when she was sick. I couldn't go to her funeral. I couldn't be with my siblings and to hug and kiss them during this time. I'm sobbing by myself. Thankfully, we have smartphones or computers where we can cry together and FaceTime, but it's been a very, very hard thing. I couldn't go to her funeral. So I'm watching her funeral on a screen, a virtual funeral. We're trying to support each other at night through a screen. And so this can also lead to complicated grief. I'm waiting for the day that I can get on a plane and go back to the East Coast. I need to go to my mom's gravesite. I want to have closure because it's surreal. And that's what we're facing. Is we're concerned about. We have the grief of people dealing during a pandemic, of loss of jobs, not going to a job, not having that regular routine in our lives, not going to the gym, another routine. So it's really important that we have self-care at this point, where I know for myself, I'm practicing meditation and I'm walking and I'm talking. So it's so important with grief and loss to reach out and talk to your friends, to everyone, because everyone needs the support at this time. Everybody's grieving the loss of what was, right? And we don't know what's going to be. So we're going to have a new normalcy. It's like a reset button on Mother Earth where, okay, what's going to be now? Because nobody knows what's in the future. So that which teaches us mindfulness and having mindfulness to be in the present moment, because the past is in the past. So the grief of all the weddings that were planned, the concerts you had planned to go to, the trips that you had planned, all the future events that are on hold right now or canceled. And so what we have to do is, what we learn is we have to live in the present moment and to be thankful. Each morning, I'm thankful I woke up again and I'm healthy and well. And I'm sure, like most people and what people in my group, we're checking in with each other. Okay, how do I feel? Okay, I feel good today. And being thankful for that and being grateful for what we do have and where we are at. And in my group, we just share, and right now it's through virtual Zoom because we're not meeting in person. But just to be able to share your emotions and feelings, reaching out. If you know a loved one who's lost somebody during the pandemic, reach out to them just to say, I'm here for you. I'm thinking of you. You can do it by text. Phone calls even better, FaceTime. WhatsApp, we have all these platforms now where we can video see somebody. So it's so important to reach out and let someone know that they're not alone. And that's not just if you've lost someone to grief, that's in any situation because we're all grieving right now. This is
It's a
a
very
very
heartbreaking situation. It is on so many levels for so many people. I'm glad you touched on that. And first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been not to be able to go back. I do know that people have been pivoting, so to speak, and having these funerals on Zoom. I participated in one not too long ago, and it's encouraging to see people use what is available to help them in those tough times. But you're right, it's not the same. And so how deep does that grief cut when you're not allowed to experience the rituals that you would have expected to experience in such a difficult, heartbreaking time?
It's very, very lonely time because we're about attachment. Human beings love attachment and connection. And so that physical act of just hugging someone, it just releases serotonin, all these feel good hormones. And what's hard is that we're not allowed to do that right now. And so you're giving virtual hugs and virtual kisses, but it's very, very hard. So it's just working your way through it. But
Right.
you do need to work through grief and loss,
Well, how do
and it's
you do
something
that?
you don't get over.
How do you begin to do
Well,
that? Because you touched on the fact that this is grief and loss, not just for people who've lost loved ones, but for the fact that you cannot be around people. I mean, it's been, more than 2 months for many of us. So how do you cope with those many different layers of feelings that you're experiencing with loss and grief? Like you mentioned, a job, not being able to touch your friends, hug your friends, all of those things combined together. How do you begin to cope with that?
you cope with it by taking really good care of yourself. You have to eat properly. Um, you have to exercise every day. Whatever you do, go for a walk, go for a run. The hikes are open, the trails. Go for just, I do it by meditation. I think meditation is so
I
important to
just
go
started doing
within.
that.
So incredible. Setting your intentions for the day, setting up a schedule every day of exercise, of meditation. There's so many classes that are being offered on YouTube, and different people are offering their services for free. So take advantage of doing yoga, Pilates, exercise,
Mm.
and eat well and sleep well. Get enough sleep. So set a new ritual for sleep where you don't go to sleep looking at your phone or your computer, but read a book or just turn off and listen to music or listen to a visual imagery meditation,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But you really have to practice self-care during this time. Reach out and talk to somebody on the phone, FaceTime. We're all about connection, and that's so important not to isolate yourself.
Mhm.
Even though you may be in your home, do not isolate. That's the most it's very, very hard on human beings to isolate and not to be around.
We need that connection, even if it is via Zoom and a Zoom happy hour now and again. You touched on
Yeah.
the fact that we obviously are dealing with the many levels of grief and loss. It could be a job, it could be a business, it could be, like you said, not being able to see your friends. So, what is the best way for someone to approach someone who might be feeling that, maybe even a little bit of depression? Sometimes people don't say anything because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing, and sometimes not saying anything is the worst thing. So how is that best approached?
Well, I always say there's nothing wrong you can say when you sense that you haven't heard from somebody, they've gone silent on you. Reach out by a phone call. If they don't pick up the phone, leave a message. Text them, email them, have another friend. If there's another friend, just keep reaching out to them until they finally will reach out to you. If you need to, get in your car and drive and honk the horn outside their house and stand 10 feet away from the front door. Just do whatever you can. Just reach out with love because we're about connection. And so don't stop. And it's just like, I'm here for you. There are no words when somebody is going through a hard time, a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, a loss of a business, whatever it may be, the loss of just contact with other people and being isolated. Just reach out and say, I'm thinking of you. I care about you. Validate their feelings. I am having the same feelings, having compassion, having empathy. You know what? If I were in your shoes, because we have a lot of single people who are home alone now, isolated, not in a
My
relationship.
mom is one of
And
them.
so
She doesn't
reaching
even
out
have
and
a
just
pet.
being, which, right, well, so you don't even have something to feed or take care of. And
Right.
those are the people we need to make sure they get up in the morning and they get out of bed and that they're doing some type of self-care, because if there is a huge concern, we're facing a pandemic of depression and anxiety right now.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, People are calling their doctors and asking for medication unlike ever before. And
mhm.
so we have to be aware, reach out to anybody you know who is alone and just check in on them and make sure that they're okay and let them know that you're there for them with compassion and empathy. And I can understand how you might feel. And let's do that virtual happy hour. You
Yes.
know, even if you're not drinking, let's have a cup of coffee together. That's what my friends are doing. Well, let's have a
Uh-huh.
coffee hour together. And we just sit and chat. And that's the best gift you can give anybody at this time, is reaching out and letting them know they're not forgotten, because it's so isolating at this moment.
Yes. Well, we reach out to my mother so much she's become annoyed. But I do want to ask you because this is, serious. This grief and loss we're talking
Yeah.
about. You have this group for people who have lost loved ones during this crisis. How can people get involved, and what's the process?
The best way to get a hold of me is to go to my website. It's monashane.com, MONASHANE.com. My phone number's there, and I would love to help people. I'm a licensed professional counselor because I like helping people, and I run these groups because I want to reach as many people as I can and help them through this really, really hard time. And I
Well,
wish everybody love and peace.
you do a wonderful job, and it's a pleasure to see you again. And thank you for
Pleasure to
all
see you
you're
as well.
doing at thinking
Thank
of
you.
you during this difficult time. You are always such a great community supporter of mine. So thank you very much. It's great to
Thank
talk
you
to you
so
again.
much. Great to see you again. And I look forward to seeing you again in person and giving you an actual hug and kiss.
Absolutely. I look forward to it too.